Buff Nation, what is going on? We're back for another episode with the Buff Blitz. I'm joined by my good friend, my co-host Russ of Buffs News Weekly. We're going to talk today, of course, recapping a little bit of what we saw against Nebraska. We'll talk about the ups and downs. I'm not going to crash out in this video like I did again with Rawhide. That's why I had Rawhide on, so I could go dark side over there. So this is going to be one where we're looking forward to what's going on, and we got to match up against little brother CSU. Russ, thank you for your patience. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing okay. I think what tonight needs to be is a moment of healing and a moment of pushing forward and moving on. Okay. I said it in my tweet. Let's bring, it's been a couple days. Okay. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. Bring all of the Buffs fans in here. Like this is us. Cause you and I are true to the T Buffs fans. Okay. Yes. We've seen a lot of people crash out this week. We've seen a lot of people bail on the Buffs, though. I mean, completely bail out. And so the people who are left, those of us that are left, let's all come together tonight. Let's heal and let's move forward and look forward to the sheep once we get to that point here tonight.
Yes. No doubt about it. Well, let's just get to the recap, man. We can start there. Yep. I've talked about this Nebraska game so much, so I'm going to let you take care of it, but let me know your feelings on it.
So my feelings, I mean, I had a different feeling right after. Obviously, I was very, very frustrated, upset. I literally turned off the TV at the end of the game, went upstairs and was like, I need to watch a movie or something, just completely get my mind off of this. Because I can't think about what just happened anymore. No YouTube, no well-off media, none of that stuff. It was like, I'm going to palate cleanse and not pay attention to anything. However, in more watching, in more looking into it, rewatching some of the game, rewatching some of the items, there's definitely some positives and there's some obvious negatives. The positives to me, and the biggest positive, again, I've gone back and watched. I felt this way watching the game, and I felt even more this way after the game. And I have heard Nebraska fans give excuses for this one, which is a little frustrating because
they got to. Come on, man.
I have given them their roses. Okay, Nebraska's defense, top 10 easily. That defensive line is a top 10 defensive line in college football. I will give them that, and they showed up and did what they needed to do there. But our defense looked as strong as they need to look for us to be successful.
I would agree with that. Russ. And it's nothing mind-blowing.
No, it isn't. But here's the biggest stat. I mean, it's a stat that I've been going back to so much because, again, the thing Nebraska fans have been saying, oh, well, they were in the lead second half, so they played vanilla and just gave it to you guys. That's why you stopped everything the second half. We stopped things the first half. Like, we literally, what was it? It was a 2 of 12 or 3 of 12 on third down that we held Nebraska to. I think it's 3 of 12. That is insane for football, for a defense in a game to hold a team to 3 of 12 on third downs and get off the field as much as we did. I will say that Dylan Raiola, I see him having a big future. He has a big future. Yeah. He's going to get better. Right now, what he needs to be is what he was on Saturday, which is a game manager. He does not need to make the big plays. The defense is good enough. If he can just be the game manager, I still think he needs to learn some things because technically he should have had 2 picks in that game and our defense fell asleep on those, whatever, Bentley just letting it go through his hand and ending up in a touchdown. So if I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm not celebrating that as a Dylan Raiola play. I'm celebrating that as a CU Buff failure because we literally handed them like that's as big of a hand off as you can for a touchdown. And then the like prayer of a throw that he did back against the grain that the guy caught on the 1 yard line with none of our guys paying attention and watching that ball. If they are at all watching that, if there is a safe, my guess is if Shiloh Sanders is probably in the game because that was kind of his role was to just sit back there and just poach. I guarantee that gets picked off too. Cam Silman-Craig was chasing the receiver, got turned around, didn't pay attention. Receiver came back, caught the ball on a floating ball. Those are 2 bad throws any day of the week. Plus, then you had the third ball on the wheel route that Dylan Raiola overthrew. So overall, that side of the ball, I'm fine with what happened. Everything's great.
Yes.
What more can be said about the offense? I mean, I've heard you say it all week. I've heard everybody say it. I still don't get why we can't, one, run the ball, why we can't go into formations that help the run. 4th and 1, and you're running a shotgun run. Like, with the way that Nebraska was teeing off on us, you give them a good, 1 to 2 seconds to get to the ball carrier behind the line of scrimmage easily? Like, that's not a 4th and 1 play. What you do is you line up with all your linemen, you put in a fullback, and you put Shedeur Sanders under center, and you go directly down their throats for 1 yard. It's not that hard.
Man, don't tempt me with a good time now. I would love to see a fullback in those situations.
David, I've heard some things out of practice this week. We might have a 2 tight end under center formation coming this Saturday. We might. We might.
If that's the case, this might turn into an X-rated stream, man.
Saturday night might turn into an X-rated stream.
Man, so, I don't know if I can be hurt again. I don't know if I can put my heart out there again.
The big thing I gotta say is, okay, so week 2 sucks. It sucks that it had to be Nebraska on top of that. Like, that's what hurts me the most. I would, out of all the wins for this entire season, that was the one game that I wanted to win probably the most because of 2 things. And we talked about it last week, because it was in Lincoln and because it's the last time that we're playing the Huskers for a very long time. Now we get to hear about that drumming for the next probably 10 years. Because no matter what happens, if CU all of a sudden starts being successful and Nebraska has an issue, guess what? They're still going to bring up. They're going to bring up that game.
Yeah,
they're going to bring up that game.
Joe Biden was president.
That was so much fun to be able to say. That was so much fun, but it's over. Well, I think that's for the most part what we can say about it. I don't know why we keep passing the ball. A couple of comments, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Dave. I've been hearing this a lot over the internet. There's 2 things that I'm hearing. One, a lot of people have been saying that it looks like Shedeur Sanders has been the one that's been kind of checking out of a lot of plays. The second thing is a lot of people are blaming the RPO for then Shedeur making the decision to pass almost every single time in the RPO rather than it being a dedicated run. Would you agree with those sentiments? Who do you put the most blame on when it comes to this? I mean, yes, Prime has the final say, so he should probably say something. But is this Pat Shurmur calling it? Or is it Shedeur Sanders being the last voice and making bad decisions on the field?
That's a great question, Russ. Coming out here with just a banger of a question. So, yeah, I'm going to put most of the blame on Shedeur, man. I think that even with the script, like we talk about this, Pat Shurmur is scripting 15 plays, to start out every game. I think we had maybe 2 runs in those first, maybe it might have even just been one run in those first 15 plays or so. We only had 1 run in the first quarter. So we'll need to go back and look to see exactly when that 15 play mark hit. But Pat Shurmur isn't scheming up in a game script 14 pass plays to 1 rush. So I think that's fair. Now, would I say that calling an RPO is probably the best thing that you should be scripting with this offense and this offensive line? I don't. I think that it was a fair criticism last year with how Shedeur ran the zone read and RPO, that he's like, he can be slow handing it off. He's always wanting to hold on to the ball for that last second to see that window to throw. And it does not benefit the offense. So I think that, and again, when you see, something I talked with Rawhide about, and he pointed out again, when you see in a situation in which we should have just run out the clock at the end of NDSU, he said he's checking to a pass play. That shouldn't even be an option. So that raises questions of why are you having the final say, even in situations where it literally makes no sense to pass the ball whatsoever? I want to see. You called Dylan Raiola, and this isn't a knock on him. He was a game manager, a very effective game manager. Tom Brady's won a lot of games as a game manager throughout his career. That just means he plays within the offense. He plays within himself. And what I was hopeful in seeing coming into this season was that we would see, again, his respect for Pat Shurmur and all of this come into play, to where we see Shedeur thrive, being a game manager, playing within an offense, playing within a scheme, and abiding by those priorities, right? We have not seen that. And again, multiple coordinators, you got multiple offensive line coaches and offensive linemen. The only thing right now that you can take a look at and see that are the consistent variables in this is Shedeur and Coach Prime with some of these things that have gone on. And so maybe this is the wake-up call that they have needed. I hope that it is, because, again, a dad is always going to believe in their son the most. Like, I get that. But at some point, you have to check things. You have to take a look at the data and say that the philosophy in which we are playing, in dictating, as Rahad would bring up and say, he's dictating this to Pat Shurmur, like, to play like this. Because, again, this doesn't look like a Pat Shurmur offense. No. To me, it doesn't. So, no. You got to look at that and say, maybe this is going to be a wake-up call to where they're saying, okay, you're right, because this just isn't sustainable. He's going to end up getting hit. We're going to lose games. His draft stock is going to tank, and we don't want any of those things to happen. Let's play a little bit more complementary football, and I think everyone's going to benefit for it.
Well, and I think, the more I look at it, I mean, think about when with Staub, when he went in. Didn't it feel different how they were playing and the rhythm of the game when he was in the game? Like, I get that he fumbled. It just felt quicker. Yeah. It felt like, it was more like Staub knew where he was going the moment it came, rather than, letting him kind of dictate where he's going to throw the ball or what's going to happen. It seemed much more, hey, this is Pat Shurmur calling things. And he was calling the things that I think a lot of people were screaming at the whole game of, why aren't we throwing more quick routes? Yeah. We're not getting a lot of time. Help the line out. Stop running the deep routes when you don't have enough time to set those plays up. Yeah. Run the ball, down the middle. We did more. And Dallin Hayden had a great drive there before he got hurt, which, again, that's really frustrating that our one good running back in trash time in that game gets hurt and is now out this week for CSU. Yeah. So for all those people that are like, I don't ever want to see Charlie Offerdahl starting, you're probably going to see Charlie Offerdahl starting this week with Dallin Hayden out. I'm sorry, guys.
I want to see Gustav.
I would love to see him, but I would love to see Micah. The problem is, and I heard it this week, and it's what I've been telling people, the reason why you're seeing Charlie is not because of his ability to run, and we see it with this offense. It is because of his ability to block. He is the best blocking running back we have on the team. If you watch him in the blocking scheme, he does a very good job of holding blocks. He's probably even better than some of our linemen at times with blocking. So that's why he's getting in, because they can rely on him to do that. When we've talked about, the NFL is the big thing with that. I mean, look at the Broncos. A lot of the times we've taken running backs. I mean, we lost Phillip Lindsay. We got rid of him because he couldn't do the blocking scheme part of it. He could run the ball, couldn't do the blocking. We need both when you're in the NFL. Well, Charlie is giving us more blocking than he is running. And when you're running the ball 60, 70, 80% of the time, who do you want in the game most of it? The person that's going to block. And then you also don't want to put it to where, like, a guy like Hayden or Augustov is the running and Charlie is the blocking, which then that's going to reveal what's happening. The defense will say, okay, Charlie's in, it's a pass play. The other ones are in, it's a run play. We can't get to that point either. So it's a really hard thing for them to do. And I think that's why they're trying to force Charlie down our throats and hoping that he can pick it up and figure it out running. But it's so difficult to say. And Gerald, I agree. And by the way, we are not YouTube coaches. We have no idea the true answer. We're just fans talking about this game and talking about what we saw.
All I'm saying is we got like 15 years of Pat Shurmur. We got tons of data to go back and look at, see like how he calls offenses, how like his philosophy behind things, statistics on run to pass ratio, like all this stuff. We even saw, like you said, even going back farther to the Ryan Staub game he started against Utah last year, we saw Ryan Staub under center. We saw different run looks. We saw pistol. Why does that change once Shador's back in the game? Is it because Shador isn't comfortable doing those things? Because that's literally the only thing that I can think of. But it's not going to get any easier for him in the NFL. I want to see him play within a system, not the system just dictated to what might be the easiest to believe in, which, don't get me wrong, I want to see Shador slice and dice all these guys, all these defenses. But you guys have brought this up in the comments. What's the point of running these RPOs? What's the point of doing these play action fakes when it just gives the defense more time to get in the backfield? They're not going to respect the run. Nebraska didn't respect the threat of the run at all. Like they're daring us to run it with those light boxes, and we didn't even make them even respect that at all. So again, credit to Nebraska, man. Like they schemed the way they should have. I think their one big adjustment that they made from last year was just simply bringing that one extra guy, just bringing 4 and bringing 5. Nothing too exotic, nothing too crazy, but that was enough pressure to just disrupt everything and completely get us off of our game.
And like we said, the difference is the game management on the offensive side. No turnovers. They did what they had to do. They scored a couple touchdowns. I mean, the game changer, and when I knew the game was over, was the pick 6. That is still one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I get that Shador said that was a rookie. I don't know any quarterback that wants to throw the entire length of the field across the field from the 2-yard line. That is the dumbest throw I have ever seen in my life. You never even look that way when that play is called. I don't care what you can't tell me that Shurmur was like, okay, this is your number one target. Like Shador thought he saw. I don't know. That was just.
I just don't think he saw the defensive back there in the flat.
I get that has to be it. Like, the Draylon was wide open, but that ended it. That ended it right there. Like, that's what's sad is people will see that score and be like, "Oh, our defense sucks." Our defense held them to 21 points, 14 if you take away the ridiculous, non-interception that led to a touchdown. That wins most weeks in college football.
Russ. Hey, I know that this isn't something, let's say, Texas A&M would be okay with, but it's all context expectations, right? Dude, we are in the top 100 right now when it comes to total defense. Like, that's a gain of like 30 spots, baby. Like, what do we say? What do we say this spring? We said if we just improve, if our line improves and our defense just improves a little bit, we win more games than we did last year. If we keep the team under 30 points for most of these games, I believe we should be able to win. We held NDSU to 26. We held Nebraska to 28, which was my prediction. All we got to do is score on 5 drives, and not all those got to be touchdowns. Like this in college football, you have those possessions, but it just like you just can't ignore it. Like the excuses that were built in last year with it being a first-year program, you had everyone essentially new. When you switch out the coordinators this year and you still see the same product on the offensive side, you have to there's no other conclusion to make because we've seen, like you pointed out, the defense is, I think, realistically playing how we would expect. I think Robert Livingston is making an improvement with this defense. It is 100% not trash bad. It is still a bad defense statistically, but it is much better than what we saw last year. Like, it is serviceable college football defense. Like, college football is high scoring, everybody. It's going to happen. It's not the NFL. There are high scoring games every week. But like you said, if our defense can hold to under 30 points, that is a decent college football defense. It's not going to win you a national championship defense like some of the big teams in the country, but that's what we need to be successful, and we're getting it. So Robert Livingston, yes, he is getting a passing grade right now from his second half adjustments at NDSU to how he called that entire game at Nebraska.
he did what he needed to do, and the defense is looking great. But I agree. Oh, by the way, Dave, when they're talking about the O-line, did you see the tweet today of what it looks like?
Let's talk about this.
Starting?
Let's talk about this. We might have some different opinions on it. I don't know. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I'm a little scared about it. I like the fact. So for everybody at home, if you saw the tweet, it looks like so far throughout practice this week, Tyler Brown has moved back to right guard, and the right tackle has been Phillip Houston, not Khalil Benson. Khalil Benson has been running with the twos. So it's looking like he might have lost his job from the first 2 weeks, which lives into what Zion is saying here of Benson has not lived up to DT2. And I agree. It's an embarrassment that is his brand, and he is probably the worst lineman on that offensive line. The worst.
Man, that's a great one because both him and Tyler Brown, again, like going back into preseason when this was happening or fall camp, it's like, this is way too late. Like something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You normally don't see guys move from the inside out like that just because they don't have the lateral speed. And it's just very clear. I mean, again, Nebraska could be the best defense that we see all year, but there was just a night and day difference with the lateral speed of those edge players from Nebraska versus Tyler Brown. I don't think he might have practiced at tackle when he was at UL Monroe, but he's never been in a game at tackle. It just shows that we might not have the best answers there at right tackle. But again, Russ, this is my concern.
Yep.
And it's not with the fact that we got some below average guys playing some of these positions. It's the fact that we're not doing anything game plan wise, schematically, to even give them a chance to perform better.
Yeah.
What we did last year, Coach Prime just says, man, these guys suck. Let's get some new guys in here. We're going to throw this guy in here, that guy in here, and see kind of how it looks with pretty much the same result. My fear is already switching guys out. We have Tyler Johnson and Justin Mayers, two of the out of the offensive linemen that we brought in. I believe those were the two highest sought after by other programs. What is going on with the fact that they're getting blamed for this, or they're not getting their performances prior to coming here to CU isn't respected at all? Like, these guys have at least proven it to some extent, and especially Tyler Johnson. But Coach Prime's response to him not playing, it was just very odd. You don't know what's going on, and we're gonna change the players, not the scheme. That is my fear. I hope I'm wrong on Saturday, but it just feels like a repeat of everything that we saw last year. Just sub out the parts, see if it's better.
Well, we know that in camp, Tyler Johnson did have an injury. Like, that was confirmed really early on. I think that he is still recovering. And I think when Coach Prime said this past weekend that Tyler Johnson is coming, that was his quote directly when he was asked, why is it Tyler Johnson playing? He said he's coming. My guess is that he's getting close to returning. I don't think it's this weekend. I don't think they're going to put him out there against CSU. I think they're saving him for Big 12 play. And they're going to make sure that he's at 100% because I think they do know what they have with him on the field. I think they do. Like we've said, he's one of the highest graded guys we brought in. He was probably the guy that we probably all were most hype about when we brought him in, the transfer portal. I know that I thought that he was going to be our top lineman from the transfer portal. So I think that's what's going on. I don't think it's a case of, why is Tyler? I think he is injured, and I think we are going to see him very soon. Again, this weekend, we are running into some injury issues with both Dallin Hayden not playing, with Tyler Johnson probably not playing. Shiloh Sanders, obviously, definitely not playing. I'm going to be interested to see what they do with that. If they just go Savion Riley,
it's going to be Carter Stoutmeyer, baby. The Carter Stoutmeyer.
Yeah. This Carter Stoutmeyer show is coming. I would really love to see, we'll see if he starts moving up the depth chart to eventually, is Ian Massey going to play a part in this now that injuries are starting to go?
Are you baiting me? Are you baiting me with that question?
No, I'm just saying. Let's see if he can raise up to the occasion if he's so good, like everybody talks about.
Hey, yeah. All the commenters, if he's so good, let's see him rise up to the occasion. But give me Herman Smith over Ian Massey every time right now.
Okay.
Herman Smith. over UMassy.
Zion's comment, my issue with Houston is size. I'd agree. I wonder if this is just for this week. Again, I think we're waiting for Tyler Johnson to come back. What I really would have liked.
Oh, go ahead.
What I really would have liked, Dave, is I really would have liked in a game situation, and NDSU would have been perfect. I would have liked to see the offensive line that we all thought was going to be the offensive line in the spring, just to see what it looked like, and then make those changes for Nebraska if it didn't look good. Instead, they moved everybody to different positions and then said, continuity. Go. And then, it didn't look great. We're going to still throw you out there against one of the best defensive lines. And, shocker, it doesn't look good still. Yeah. Like, NDSU does have a good defensive line. I hate when people are saying right now, they have at least 2 guys on the defensive line that will be drafted in the NFL. They have draft grades. So I don't know. We'll see. But what are your thoughts? Are you okay with Philip Houston?
I mean, at this point, if we are at this point, dude, can he be worse than Tyler Brown at right tackle?
That's a good question.
Like, I don't know if he can be better. My hope is that he's not worse. So maybe it's around the same thing. To give some people some hope and myself some hope, there have been some people in like Guru's chat that have said, well, even though he's undersized, he's like 270 pounds or so lighter than Jack Bailey, by the way. He at least shows good technique. He shows good technique. So that at least gives me hope. And maybe, like, again, I haven't seen a ton of the practice stuff, and we only get a glimpse of it online anyway, just a little glimpse. But maybe he has some better lateral speed that is maybe he can actually get in front of some of these guys. That would be great. My question is that we did see this particular player run with the ones a little bit at right tackle and right guard. And we saw him play both right guard and right tackle last year with, I thought, kind of average results. They were average results, in my opinion. We have seen bad results right now at the right tackle position. Kareem Harden. Kareem Harden has experience playing the tackle position. He is adequately sized. Say what you want about Benson. I think that's a very fair point, Russ. Why didn't we just roll in with what was the most the lineup with the most continuity, the most snaps together, and just see how it rolls? Instead, 3 weeks prior to the season, we're changing that up completely. Again, I'm a little worried about Philip Houston's size going up against some of these Big 12 guys. But if there's a week to test it out and see if he can do it, it's against CSU, right? Like, this is the week to see if Philip Houston's able to do it. But my first thought in my mind was, what about Kareem Harden, man? Like, he's at least shown that he can push some of these guys around, and not a perfect tackle, but he can do it. Wyatt Hummel too. He's played tackle, granted at FCS, just like Philip Houston, coming up from a big level jump, but 310 pounds.
There's a lot of options. I think we're going to see some shifting. I think this weekend's the last weekend that we really need to see that, which as we eventually move into the preview of CSU, there's a lot of things we're going to be looking out for, because this is the last test before we get into the big part of the schedule. The part of the schedule that everybody for the last year has said, CU can't win conference games. They only win non-conference games that don't matter.
We got to win some conference games.
We've got to win some conference games. And let's talk about that. Did you watch some of the other Big 12 games this weekend, Dave?
No.
I did.
I didn't. Well, actually, I watched a little bit of Arizona. I watched Arizona State beat Mississippi State. What else? I saw Mormons versus Baptists. I wish we had BYU on the schedule too, but that's how it is. We can win some games in the Big 12, man.
Kansas State looked horrible.
Really? I didn't even know what happened.
Johnson was horrible. Like, he can run, he cannot pass. Tulane looked like a juggernaut out there. I'm not kidding. While I was watching that game, I was like, that Tulane quarterback's a redshirt freshman. I wonder if he'd like to come play for CU next year when Shedeur leaves, because he was looking pretty decent in that game. And I was liking what I saw. Oklahoma State, who are supposed to be one of the juggernauts in the Big 12, did not look that good in their game and barely won. They won in overtime.
Okay,
So
you're giving me hope.
No, I'm telling you, there's hope. That's why I was after the game when everything was done. I was like, the Big 12 is not as strong as we thought. And not to mention this, let's talk about Utah, the golden child of the Big 12. What happened this weekend? Cam Rising got hurt again.
Oh, he got hurt?
Yes, he did.
See,
he hurt his hand. We don't know how bad it is. We don't know what's going on. But again, the guy who can't catch a break, who's literally old enough to be in an old a retirement home, is getting hurt yet again.
Is Zach Wilson's little brother backing him up? Is that
I don't know who the backup. I wasn't even paying attention. I just know that I got that message from somebody who was like, well, he did it again. And I looked into it. Yeah, sure enough. So the Big 12, after we thought it was going to be so powerful with all these ranked teams, that nobody has really been showing out. As bad as it sounds, Arizona State might be the only team that has showed out consecutive weeks.
Let's go. We're in a bad conference. Let's go, baby.
Arizona hasn't even looked that great.
No, they haven't. They've looked vulnerable, man.
They've looked so bad. You go down the list, Kansas hasn't been the strong team that some people thought they were going to be. Every team that we are going to, yes, Arkansas did hand that game to. They should have won. Arkansas should have easily won. By the way, Oklahoma State's quarterback, as bad as advertised as well. Remember we talked about how many picks that guy threw last year? It was bad. He could not throw the ball. It's weird, by the way, Dave, going and watch Texas Tech. I forgot they've looked like dog crap the whole both games. Bad, it's great. So the good news is, guys, guess what? Yeah, Kansas lost to Illinois. I'm telling you, go down the list of the Big 12. We are not the only ones struggling, guys. If anything, our loss to Nebraska looks great when it comes to the teams that the other teams are playing. Nebraska, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give it to them right now. I'll give it to you, Mike. Okay. Nebraska will be 7-0 when they play Ohio State.
No, Nebraska 10 wins, baby. I'm calling it.
Dave, that's easy. That's easy. They're getting 10 wins. They have the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my life.
They haven't had 10 wins in forever.
They're going to be back. Now we got to see, okay, are they real or not? They'll be, maybe in the Big 10 championship. That's going to really test them. I want to see how they do against Ohio State. Can they at least keep that game close and not, lose under the lights of being able to play Ohio State? But they will be 7-0 going against Ohio State. They probably at most have 2 to 3 losses. That's it. They're a 9-10 win simply because of their schedule. They have the easiest schedule I've ever seen.
Hey, their coaching ain't getting in the way, man. Their coaching ain't getting in the way. Those players do not have to overcome their coaches. That is something that this team, our team, has to deal with every single victory that we get. We got to overcome some sort of stuff that doesn't make sense. So
it's the perfect schedule to have a freshman quarterback for. It's absolutely insane how perfect their schedule was this year for a freshman quarterback. He does not need to be a world changer for them at all, guys. He can literally just take what the coaches give him, play what's in front of him, and then, deal with whatever. Now, I do want to see what Raiola does against Ohio State. I have a feeling that's not going to be a pretty game for him. Do they play Michigan this year? Does Nebraska play Michigan? No. Who's their other big game?
I think it was Oregon. Maybe it's Oregon. Let me see.
Oh God, if they're playing Oregon, then Oregon hasn't looked good either. They almost lost to Idaho.
Yeah, they got some issues. Mike will tell us, but I'll bring this up. Not to turn this into a Nebraska.
We can give them. I want to give them. I get
dude,
it. There's a rivalry,
Oregon, dude. These are their opponents. They got Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana.
Indiana's looking good.
UCLA, USC, Wisconsin,
there it is
in Iowa.
So
USC,
there's the game.
That's the only other ranked opponent they have.
I mean, USC has looked good compared to they did last year. They look better than they did last year. In all honesty, they're a more complete team. So,
thank you, John.
Yeah, I think Nebraska will do pretty well. But again, before we move on to this week's game, I just want to say to all the fans out there, things could be worse. And on top of that, the season is not over. Okay. All those people jumping ship. I lost like 20 subscribers on my YouTube channel the moment that game ended. I have not recovered. My video this week had like 400 views. My channel is dead. That's what happens when, you hitch your ride to the CU hype train and it, crashes and derails.
It's funny. I got to ask you, Russ, like, man, I know I've there's been just disastrous Broncos seasons, for instance, like 2022, with Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson. Like,
I don't want to talk about that.
It was bad. But my first thought mid-game and seeing my team massacre isn't, let me go unsubscribe to every Broncos YouTube channel I subscribe to. I just always find that pretty funny.
Well, some of the group chats I'm in. Some of the group chats I'm in, the people immediately said, go unsubscribe to every CU content creator. They deserve this. It's their fault that we're hyped like this and blah, blah, blah. Like literally they said, and I'm like, hi guys, I'm here. Like, I would appreciate if you didn't, like, hello, that's, don't jump ship. It's 1-1. Like, I get it. It is a tough loss. It is Nebraska.
Bowl game for Peggy or we get pegged.
Should we have a shirt like that? Should we create a shirt and sell that, Dave, that says,
yeah, but let's not drop it when we line up with some 21 personnel, baby, and this turns into an X-rated podcast. That's what I want. So I got to ask you, Russ, I guess, as we transition into the CSU stuff, which, by the way, I'm totally leaning on you to be the preview guy this week again. I've just been so down bad. But I want to ask you this. Is this 14 weeks in? We haven't really seen any different schematic adjustments on the offensive side outside of that game against Utah where Shedeur wasn't playing in.
Yep.
Is this finally the week in which we see now, and now with Pat Shermer here, where we finally see some adjustments made to where this might have shades of an NFL product on offense? Because right now, for all the NFL experience we got, this ain't even close to an NFL product.
I will I will say that this is like the biggest week in Coach Prime's tenure to show that is possible, to show that everything that every person in the world is screaming, every analyst, every old player, I guarantee you all of Coach Prime's friends are calling him up and being like, man, what's going on? Like, it's pretty obvious what needs to happen. Why is it not happening? Fix it. All of the analysts that he's friends with on ESPN that have been talking about this game all week, all of, his ex-player friends, they all have to. Oh, that's so funny. Ball out. Yes. Camerizing another medical year, guys. It's coming. It's coming. This is the week that we have to do it. And as we preview CSU, I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to say that it's going to be a win. I'm going to say it has to be a win.
Yes.
And not only does it have to be a win, it cannot be an overtime thriller like last year. It cannot be a close game. And I'll tell you the biggest reason why as we now transition into previewing CSU.
Yes. Let me get to this super chat really quick.
Go for it. Yes.
Thank you, Kevin Riley, for the $5. Always appreciative for the cup of coffee. Thank you. David, checking in to make sure you're okay. I am alive. And that is, that's the biggest thing. I'm still alive, doing my thing, enjoying life in the great state of Texas. Let's go, Buffs. Nebraska's D-line will be the hardest we see this year. I agree with you with that on that. And maybe another reason as to why don't we just change the scheme rather than kicking Justin Mayers out there. But anyways, you're totally right about this, Kevin Riley. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support. I'm just teetering on the dark side right now, but that is what it is. Let's get into looking at this team. I think that, like you said, Russ, not only does this victory matter in getting it, but it matters in how we do it.
It 100%
does, because we want to lay a foundation of some NFL principles. If this staff is all about preparing everybody for the NFL, being an NFL type environment, well, you think we should run somewhat of a NFL looking concept on offense, right? So let's get to it, Russ. Let's hope we see some of this.
So here's the big thing. This isn't the same CSU team as it was last year. Not
Is
even
that
close.
good or bad?
In a good way.
Okay.
Torrey Horton and Nicolosi come back for CSU. They lose, obviously, their top tight end, Holliker, who killed us last year.
Oh, Holker's out?
Holker went to the NFL.
Oh, that's right. He's with the Saints.
Yep. Holker's in the NFL. Kamara is gone in the NFL.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of other pieces. So it's why, honestly, you saw the Texas game go the way it did. I don't care if Texas is one of the best teams in the country. You at least put up some points.
Thank you. You at least get a field goal in garbage time.
Getting a field goal in college football is not that hard, okay? 30 yards. That means you didn't get like anything going. And then the second reason why I think this has to be a bigger win, Torrey Horton went out with a pulled muscle last week. He didn't finish the game. He is injured. Now, Jay Norvell did say that he is hoping that he can play, but when you hope on a muscle pull that a guy's going to play, even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. And Torrey Horton, who again, 100% is going to be a top draft pick wide receiver in the NFL. If he does not have the agility and speed needed, groin strain. If that's the truth, Zion,
ain't no way
I know it was
playing.
some kind of pulled muscle.
Way he's playing with a groin strain.
Even
now,
if he does,
their Super Bowl though, so maybe he does.
Even if he does, he's gonna be not as fast as he was. And his big thing last week, like by the way, he did two things again. He took the first punt return of the season of the game to the house, got a touchdown, and then Torrey Horton also threw a touchdown like he did against us. So because of that. I know you want to see Travis versus Torrey. The problem is Torrey's not going to be 100%, even if he is. So we're going to hear it anyway. If Travis shuts him down, it'll be because Torrey's hurt. And you know, here's Dave. We all know what we want to see this week, right? We do not want to see CSU get beat on crossers the whole game. I hope that Rob Livingston watches the video from last year and realizes let's probably not run man the whole game. Let's not make it easy on them. Let's do what we've been learning. I love the adjustments. I loved what we ran against Nebraska. He did run more zone if you watch the game, which did a great job. The zone did a wonderful job, especially against Dylan Raiola, where he wasn't able to really read. Like it was the first read, and then after that, it kind of became a little bit more tough and difficult for him. And then he had to scramble around, and you know, we got what we got. So yeah. That's another big thing. I know Travis is going to get up for this game. I know that he's been waiting for this game. He may have squashed the beef with Blackburn, but the easiest way to get back at somebody in a healthy and correct way is to do it on the field. You can't tell me, Dave, that Travis isn't going to try and go off in this game. And when he scores those touchdowns, I am ready to see those celebrations inside of Fort Collins to see how he takes it to Sheep fans this weekend, because Travis is in on this rivalry for sure. So,
I want to bring something up on defense real quick.
Yeah.
I got to give somebody credit that has been on my hot seat for a long time. Coach Hart working in conjunction with Robert Livingston. We saw an adjustment at the linebacker room that I thought was great, man. Seeing more Nakai Hill-Green, seeing him as a starter now, I did like that. I think we've seen improved linebacker play this year, no doubt. And again, I still need to go through the replay of the Nebraska stuff, but kind of having Trevor Woods there just in certain scenarios, I think is what's better for him, kind of being that main guy off the bench. But I thought Nakai Hill-Green had a good game. And Levante Bentley, I think, has looked better this year compared to last year. Now, of course, you'd want him to get that pick, but that's just hashtag buff shit. That just happens.
That was.
But I do think we are getting better linebacker play this year, and I'm going to give Coach Hart credit for that. Some people are saying, well, you could thank Adalius Thomas or again, Robert Livingston, at the end of the day, he's the position coach, and I think he's done a great job seeing improvement from that room.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this defense does against CSU because I feel like here's the thing too, and tell me, Dave, if you've noticed this. I have not seen a lot of CSU fans talking this year. I have not seen it.
I don't see CSU fans in general.
I don't know where they are.
There's just not a lot of them.
It seemed like there was more last year. Like I thought.
No, those are all other fans masquerading as CSU fans, right? I mean, but yeah, dude, it's a non-existent fan base. It's a program and a stadium that I would assume is going to get filled out by their in-state rival on Saturday, and maybe they're not talking as much because they're, like you said, they're even worse this year. Is that what it is? I mean, they got a $600K quarterback.
He has not looked like it so far this season. It has been pretty embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry. You guys won 38-17 against Northern Colorado, who, by the way, plays the likes of North Dakota State, Montana State, and FCS. And they are the doormat of that conference and league. So to tell me that it's 38-17 win, like, you should be winning that game 52-0. There is no reason that it should be 38-17. On top of that, Canvas Stadium holds 38,000. Thank you, buddy, for putting that, because I want to talk about that. Supposedly, CSU had 100% attendance this past weekend, except the recorded attendance was 36,000 some odd, and yet they're being listed as 100%. Plus, the upper deck looked empty. I don't know what's going on over there, but I have a feeling we'll easily take over this game because guess what? It's the second most expensive ticket in all of college football this weekend. It is. People want to go.
Wow. Well, dang, 26.3 QBR when you have had one game against Northern Colorado. I mean, I don't care how bad you play against Texas. That is, wow, that's worse than, dude, he should have taken that $600K. He could have bought a house.
He should have ran to the bank.
Could have bought a house in cash. Depending on where he's living, he could have bought 2 houses in cash.
It's not looking good. Okay. It's not looking good. Like, CSU is the Torrey Horton show at this point. He came back, which again, I don't know why he came back. Like, could you imagine Torrey Horton going to the likes of like
is Jay Norvell a snake oil salesman? Is he a false prophet? Is that,
guess what? If they don't win Saturday and then we do win by a lot, we're sending Jiffy Lube Jay off with a nice care package, him and his wife, and how she feels about the Sanders family. They're going to really love the Sanders family when they're going to be packing their bags if they lose this game this weekend, as poorly as they could potentially lose this game. So
now I did look at this, Russ. While the stats passing are not great, I do remember taking a look earlier this week. Do you remember offhand what the CSU Rams are averaging right now running the ball? I want to say it's around 150 yards a game, which is around what we're giving up.
Yeah, which is okay, by the way, in college football. 150 yards in college football rushing is actually good defense. Rams by 12. Take your hats and glasses off. Who is this?
Lamar, man. Lamar's gone to the dark side.
Okay. Is he an actual CSU fan or just being a troll?
No. I don't know what Dre, though, is, man. I don't know what he is, but Dre, thanks for being in here.
Yeah, so I mean, when it really comes down to it, one part of it is it's hard to really scout CSU and how they are because of the 2 games they've had. They've been so polar opposites, not to mention the competition's been so polar opposites.
Yeah.
But just based on the skill that they lost and who they've brought in and where they're at, kind of, there is no reason that we shouldn't win and win by a lot. And that's why I say, as a fan base, I'm not ready to panic yet after the Nebraska game. If we don't get a pretty convincing win where it's like, okay, we dominated that game and we played, good football, then I'm going to really start to be concerned, because CSU is definitely not like any of the Big 12 teams, even the bad ones. So yeah, I that's my biggest thing when I take away from this game is I probably might be a little bit more frustrated. If we got killed by CSU like we did Nebraska, then yes, we can all just completely crash out and say the season's over, because that is the truth.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing, man. Like, we've been looking for that game in which we're having a dominant victory in the Coach Prime era since he's gotten here. We had that looking at the scoreboard. We had that week 2 of last year against Nebraska. That was also the Jeff Sims game. That dude had like 69 turnovers in the entire game. Like, we just had the ball so often. Every other game in which we've been favored to win significantly, to handle business, where the expectation has been to have a double-digit win, we have no double-digit wins under Coach Prime yet. Is this going to be the game? Well, aside from Nebraska, is this going to be a game in which we're not going up against Jeff Sims, in which we're going to be able to do that, where we can play a very solid, complimentary, full game, 4 quarters of football? We've seen it in spurts. We saw it in the first half against Stanford, right? 28-8, 29-0. I forget what it was, 29-0, right? Can we right the ship? Can Coach Prime right this ship? It's not going to happen by just doing the same thing we've done for 13 games minus Utah, or 14 games minus Utah, over and over again. That is the definition of insanity. I want to see some adjustments. I know Flea has talked about this, talking about the adjustments, or you've been talking with Coach Prime, talking about bringing in extra offensive linemen and having Shador under center and different things like that. I want to see that, but we're 14 games in and we haven't. So I got to see it before I'm going to believe it. But this is the get right game for CU. If you want to have more balance on the offense, if you want to actually do right by Shador and put him in the best position for him to have the highest draft stock possible, you saw JJ McCarthy get drafted 10th overall. Not because he was putting up all these numbers, not because he was in an air raid offense. No, it was because he played within a system and he played winning football and didn't do dumb stuff like throw the ball when you can run out the clock and win the game. These are things that I want to see changed that are so easy. Notice, guys, how I haven't brought up, we got to bring in more talent. Notice all of our offensive linemen are totally trash. No, these are things that the coaching can do schematically to help put these players in a position for them to play better. This isn't a talent thing. We have the talent to be competitive. We have the talent to beat CSU significantly. Are the coaches going to put our players in position to do that on Saturday? We're about to find out. I sure hope so.
Yeah, so I looked up, by the way, the line right now for Vegas for this game.
Yeah.
We are 7.5 point favorites on the road. Just so people know, built into every line with Vegas, there's about a 3 to 4 point swing based on being on the road versus being home. So really, you want to say that Colorado is a 11.5 point favorite in this game. So with that being said, this is the biggest, like one of the biggest lines. I don't remember what we were for NDSU. Do you, Dave, remember what the line was for NDSU? Was it 9.5? I think it was 9.5, but it moved up because more people were betting Colorado.
It moved up to 10.5, or it might have even been 11.5 before kickoff.
So, but the point is, this far out of a game, this is probably one of the highest, even though it's 7.5. It's because we're on the road. I look at that as an opening line of 11.5. So that tells me, again, we are expected to win this game and win this game by a lot and handily take care of this game. So yeah, if we don't do that and we aren't, like, it's not going to be the same last week as we were talking about Nebraska. We're like, we're going to take it to, like, this is more of a desperation plea of like, we have to win and we have to control the entire game. There cannot be any ifs, ands, or buts about it. There cannot be no come from behind, redemption play on the last play of the game to tie it and then win it in overtime because Mikey Harrison gets left open for the entire overtime period for whatever reason. It can't be that kind of heroics. It has to be, we're going to go up to Fort Collins. It is a business trip. We're going to take care of business and we're going to head the heck back to Boulder, because that is the attitude this team needs to have going into this game. And they need to all come and show that exact intensity and mindset as we play CSU in their house.
Let's look like we do steroids, man. Let's play. I've been saying it all year. I want this team to look like it's on steroids. We don't play in a fashion in which it makes us look like we should be accused of juicing, HGH, all of that. This is an opportunity to change the tone. If we're going to change out our offensive line combinations 2 weeks in, we can change the freaking scheme. We can install some new formations. We can install some new plays. Again, it's mind-blowing to me that we are having this conversation right now with the entire narrative throughout the offseason of just this is going to look more like an NFL product. We haven't seen any of that. Can we see Isaiah Augustov or Micah Welsh? Now, I know we're going to see Charlie Offerdahl. I appreciate you coming to bat for him in the pass protection, but if we care at all, about having some sort of balance on this offense, man, I want to see his snaps significantly reduced. Maybe make him a third down back. How about that? You could still put that in the documentary, in the movie called Charlie, about how he went from walk-on to third down back, scholarship third down back. I like it, but we gotta have our better athletes out there. Oh, well, let me get to this super chat real quick.
Yeah, go for the super chat because I have some more news to kind of report here.
Oh, yes, okay. Kevin Riley, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat again. Again, thank you for the second cup of coffee. He says, do you guys have a score? Blowout. Go Buffs. Yes, we do have score predictions. We'll get to them here at the end, so you hold on. But yes, we do. Do I make them up on the fly? Yes, I do. But we're going to get to them. Yeah.
Well, so did you watch some of the press conference today?
No. I was too busy going Dark Side Dave on my live earlier.
Okay. Coach Flea took the podium today.
I saw one clip. So yes, give us the
So you saw the clip. Coach Flea claims that Deion Sanders will be taking snaps underneath center this weekend.
Where the hell is Pat Shurmur? Where the hell is Coach Prime saying this?
Well, they're not speaking yet. Coach Prime's stuff is tomorrow, right? I think Thursday. That's his weekly press conference.
Oh, okay.
Plus his weekly radio show, I think, is tomorrow as well. The one with the voice of the Buffs that they do each and every week. Plus he has
with Mark Johnson,
and plus he has the Romy Bean show that comes out, I think, either Thursday or Friday. So we'll see that. This is the early part of the week where we're seeing the other coaches talk first. So we've seen that from him. To the person in the chat that said they are not going to make any adjustments, they have already made a bunch of adjustments that we know of. They have changed the offensive line. We know they're going under center. And the other thing, I know, Zion, we don't believe it until game time.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Till they've been preaching NFL this whole time. With his offense hasn't looked anything like an NFL offense. So Coach Flea can go out and say it until I see Coach Prime actually say it and have him say it in a way and says, guys, I was wrong. I've been letting my emotions, my just, unwavering belief in my son that he can just slice and dice these defenses, get in the way of what true NFL principled football looks like, what true West Coast football looks like. Then I'm not believing it.
Well, we're only a couple days out from finding out. It has to be this week.
Yes.
It has to
continue
be
on with this
news.
week. I'm sorry, Russ.
No. You're completely have every right, just like every fan in the chat has every right. We said it. This is a safe space for Buffs fans. Everybody has the right to be pissed off at what this team is doing right now, because we can be honest. We do not have the talent to not be more successful. It is not a talent issue. It is not a talent issue. Can we all just to say that? Everybody in the chat, it is not a talent issue. It is a scheme. It is a coaching. It is a Shador making dumb decisions. That is what's stopping us from get where we need. But we have the stats. We have the talent to be more successful than we are right now. And somebody needs to get out of the way of themselves so that we can actually see that talent be used in the correct way.
There's only one consistent. It's only one consistent variable. But yeah, man, this is the get right game. This has to be. This has to be the get right game. Now, do I wish we kind of, did this stuff in the first 2 weeks? Sure. But at the end of the day, we're 1-1. It's time for us to go get one step closer to that bowl game, to all that stuff, right? Man, I can't believe I had us winning 8 games, but we can still do it. Like you said, in the Big 12, anyone's vulnerable. If we actually make the adjustments, I mean, we've shown that we're going to, like I said, we'll change stuff up at the worst times. We'll just decide, you know what? We haven't seen Tyler Brown at right tackle the entire offseason. Let's just have him start this year at right tackle with just a couple weeks of experience out there. We can totally change how we're going to play schematically on offense within a week, right? We can do that. We're doing all this other dumb stuff. We can do that.
We have. Yep. Thank you, Kevin Riley. It is not a talent issue. Buddy, CSU had their Aggie Day last week. Orange out. So stupid. Everyone walking around looking like Home Depot employees. Appreciate you. I love the trash talk. Before we get into the score, feel free, chat. Talk your ish when it comes to CSU, because we know there are no CSU fans in recording history. So we know there won't be any in this chat like there were the Nebraska fans and the wonderful Nebraska fans who stick around. We appreciate you guys sticking around. But yes, it's going to be
a way. Lowe's is way better than Home Depot. Home Depot sucks. I'm going to go with Lowe's.
Lowe's is better. There's our meme for the week. But Dave, I love your get back game. That is what this should be titled.
Yeah.
Yes. That needs to be the title of this week. That needs to be the theme of this week. Also, by the way, I don't know if you've been seeing, but Jiffy Lube J has been on his stuff again and has decided, I'm not going to stop talking smack about Deion and his family.
Let's go.
What are you doing, buddy? All the other teams learned you don't do that. Matt Rule is being super nice. They don't do anything pregame. NDSU, they're just lobbing compliments back and forth. And here comes Jiffy, I can't even say his darn name, but he is just asking for it.
What's he saying now? What's he been saying now?
So he said in a press conference, he said, they're just the same team as last year, so we won't have a problem. Like, that's pretty much what he said. They're the same team with the same attitude as last year.
Man, he ain't wrong about that, though.
He isn't, but I don't think it's 100% the same team. We obviously have a better defense. And so if he wants to call out the defense and say you're the same team as last year, he's going to tick some people off on that defensive front. Forgot the other thing, too. We are missing probably Chidozie and Nwankwo this week, he's been so tremendous in the middle of that defensive line. Yeah, he didn't tell a lie, Zion. I get it. He didn't tell a lie, but to call that out in the way that he called it, like, we're gonna have no problem this weekend.
Wait, did he say anything about the family?
We
can talk about his wife if you want.
I can't remember what exactly. I do like Deion's comment about the wife this week.
What
he just kept saying, "I've met her. She is a very nice woman."
I won't lie. No, she's a terrible woman. She's crazy. Needs medication.
Both his kids, his wife, he needs to figure that out. They shouldn't be going on social media and calling that out. They're just asking for more issues this weekend, but we'll see what that looks like. Overall, I think, again, it's like you said, the get right game, right?
Yes, it's the get right game. It's time we actually do things the right way. And then, that's my hope, and that's all it is. Like I'm not saying that we're gonna see a change. I'm saying that's my hope.
pull up Lamar's most recent comment he just did.
Oh, we can talk about this. Yeah. Handle this, Russ. Yeah.
I get it. They haven't gotten any turnovers yet, but for you to say that the defense isn't better, like, I would rather have more run stops and getting our offense the ball more times than just waiting for those opportunistic turnovers that they had last year, where the team would drive all the way down into the red zone and then we get a turnover. Not to mention, let's talk about it. We can say it. The Jeff Sims turnovers, that 3 turnovers that really weren't on the defense. That was him being an absolute
I don't even think that guy's starting for TCU as a starting quarterback anymore. So
no.
Much better quarterback play first couple weeks.
Yeah, couple of interceptions. Like, all of the stuff I felt like was opportunistic, but it was in the red zone. They allowed gashing plays the whole game, and we're getting tired. And one person came up with a good play. We're now seeing a defensive unit playing as a whole that is more sustainable the whole year than what we saw last year. There was a reason we got killed by Oregon and didn't even stand a chance defensively. There was a reason we got killed by USC and Shador had to go into Brady mode at the end and almost brought us back to win that game because the defense did not play the way they needed to against Caleb Williams and USC. So to say, yes, I agree this one. Last year's defense, way softer. They got opportunistic turnovers, but they could have easily not got those. Defenses way more physical. Yeah, they're a defense this year. Can we just talk about that? They are a physical, true defense. And guess what? The turnovers and sacks are going to come.
Yeah.
They are going
to come. We don't need them to be amazing. We just don't need them to be amazing. Like, this should be a team that is led by its offense. We're getting in the way of ourselves. That's how I feel about it. And statistically, like I said, we are about 30 spots more improved than where we were at in total defense last year. So, I mean, it's not like, yeah, it's still bad, but it's not the worst.
They're doing college football defense. There's not that many defenses in college football that are just completely dominant. That's just the way it is. It's not the NFL. It's not the way that, it's not this low scoring back and forth. College football is a high paced, high scoring game where the defense is more about, can we stop the other team just enough to give our offense the chances to win the game?
Yeah. Yep. And with that being said, let's get to our predictions. You want to get to our predictions, and we can.
I do. Let's do it.
Take a look at some comments afterwards if we want, but
why
don't you lead us off for us?
Well, so again, like I said, this game has to be not only a victory, it has to be a victory by a large amount, which is why with my score prediction, I am looking at a score that something similar to it would make me happy. Anything less, I'm worried. I'm finally going to panic mode. I'm not there just yet. I'm not some like others fans. I'm not jumping ship. Never going to jump ship, but I need to see something out of the team. So what I would like to see from the CSU CU game this weekend, I would like to see a Buffs win 34-17. 34-17. An over 2 touchdowns. Is that, did I do the math right there? Yeah, 2 touchdown victory. A 2 touchdown victory. I would like to see that out of CSU or CU over CSU. And I would like to see us run the ball a little bit more. I would like to see a rushing touchdown from the offense. And I would just like to see, that's why I have 34 points, because I don't think it's going to be high scoring, because again, I'm hopeful, I'm praying to the Lord above that we run the ball and control the clock and just bully CSU out of their own stadium in Fort Collins.
Beautifully said. I guess I got a couple different predictions.
Okay.
So I'm breaking the rules on this, Russ. You can say my official prediction is give me 31-24 Buffs.
Okay.
It's just no, I'm changing. Give me 24-17 Buffs. That's what we're going to do. 24-17
Oh,
Buffs. Because if we come out doing what we've done the first 14 games of this Coach Prime era, teams have seen enough of it, man. That's how I feel about it. Now, if we come out truly mixing up the personnel, the formations, all of that, we truly script and stick to the script, and we have like a 60-40 pass to run ratio out of that first quarter throughout that script, man, we're winning 28-0. We actually come out there with the desire to play complementary football, win the time of possession, keep their defense on the field, keep our defense off the field. That's what we're talking about, domination.
yeah.
But I got to see it before I believe it. So CSU covers, and it's going to be a close game. I'm sorry. I just
If that happens, Dave, are you happy?
Dude, I'm not happy, but I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be happy afterwards. Guys, I'm always celebrating a victory, no matter how it looks, guys. I'm always going to celebrate a victory. We got the rest of the week to be cynical or be critical, break things down, talk about what needs to be improved, all of that. But I'm always going to be happy about a victory, whether we're gifted it or not in the eyes of some of the people. That's just, what it is. But I imagine this is going to be a close game. If anything, the way that we have played offensively, being extremely pass heavy, has made these games against opponents that we should beat much harder and closer. I don't think we've ever covered, again, outside of that Nebraska game. I guess TCU, we were dogs. But yeah,
correct.
like outside of that, like we've never covered against the guys that and the opponents that we've been favored against. So maybe we can do that. But until I see it, I just can't come out there with an official prediction and say we're going to cover and get a victory. And hopefully, this is what I'm talking about, Russ, because in order to lift the curse of all this buffoonery, and we see this team play towards its potential, right? Maybe me coming out here with that prediction is just what is needed to lift the curse instead of sacrificing and eating Ralphie 6. Because if we see that performance again this week, and again, Ralphie just doesn't care, I'm starting to think Ralphie 6 might be the spiritual issue with this team. But that's another conversation. I don't eat bison. I haven't since I've gone to CU. But that might be the exception I'm willing to make to try and get the Buffs to just win some games.
I love it. I do. There's definitely some good comments in the chat. Coach Kev, my question for you. You have a couple comments. Well, before that, even that defense was in no way, shape, or form even remotely acceptable. They got dog walked 4 to 7 yards at a time. Nebraska didn't need to pass in the second half. Coach Kev, did you look at the stats? We were I'm assuming you're a football coach. If you go by Coach Kev, I'm assuming. Would you take a 3 for 12 defensive third down conversion that they've only allowed 3 third down conversions the entire game? Like, to me, that's pretty good in football terms. That doesn't happen very often. And heck, that has never happened in CU in probably years, let alone just last year and this year. 3 for 12 is a pretty success. I will take that. Dave, if we could keep a team 3 for 12 every game the rest of the season on third down, would you take that?
Oh, yes. But I'm going to push back on you a little bit right now, Russ. I'm going to push back. Can we just have offenses come out with that same drive and intensity and all of that we see when they're playing with a 28-point lead in the second half? Like, I understand that. I understand that critique. What I will say, Coach Kev, is that our run defense got gashed when the game mattered the most in the first half. But I think all we're trying to say, we can argue about the details of the Nebraska game, but I think that this is a better defense than what we saw last year. Again, the standard, the bar being set was incredibly low, but I think we've seen them better this year. Yeah.
here's the thing. I rewatched the game. I've watched the game with some other people's analysis. The whole 4 to 7 yards at a time. Were there some runs that they did get gashing? Yes, but we also tackled them for a number of losses during that game. If you look at the stats, we had 7 tackles for a loss, no sacks in the game. 7 tackles for a loss are pretty good.
Yeah.
Not to mention there were several tackles for a loss on Raiola as he was scrambling that didn't get sacks. So in all honesty, you go back, you watch that game, you saw what they did. They stuffed the run. And I also saw your guys' comments about the linebackers are probably the worst part.
What?
That's quite the opposite. The only reason that we were that success, somebody said that, I saw it at some point, of like our linebackers. I don't know who it was.
I'll go back up and try to find it. You have your moment, Russ.
Yes, but the point, yes, it's Coach Kev. Linebackers are not getting separation, putting their head down and playing shoulder ball at 8:09. Like, the linebackers are probably the best part about this team right now. Bentley is leading the team in tackles both games and leading the team in tackles for losses. Like, that tells me a lot about our linebackers. They're hitting the holes and getting the running backs down at the line of scrimmage, if not 2 to 3 yards afterwards. I want to look up, Dave, you keep looking at this and say, I want to look up what our stats are. Can we look at our defensive team stats really quick? Because I didn't look at everything. I just looked at that. I want to look at what that looks like to see, okay, how much are we actually allowing run per game? I know that the NDSU game is going to mess that up because the quarterback runs, and I know that people have looked at the stats.
I mean, you only play who you play. All these opponents are in the same situations.
So is this our defensive stats?
This is defensive stats 2024. So rushing yards per game, we're giving up 153. Yeah. Which is?
That is not bad.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst. Texas Tech faced an FCS team. They ran all over them.
Yep.
Again, this is a bad defense, but it's not the worst. And I think that's something to call out. Like, we have seen improvement.
Not in the first 2 weeks. Let's talk about that. Like, some of these teams that are listed in here that have allowed no runs, they have played both powder cake games. Nebraska, I give us props for what we did in that game and what we did in the NDSU game. Like, it's not as bad as people are making out. Like, it is what it needs to be. Okay, Coach Kev, yes, I get that. Watch the linebackers in the first score. That drive was not great. They tightened up after that. Like, the first drive, and Dave, would you agree with me that after that first drive, you were like, uh-oh, we're in so much trouble. They ran the ball down our throat that drive. I was like, this is not what I wanted to see.
No, I wasn't too worried. When I got worried was when Jimmy Horn almost fumbled the ball twice on the first kickoff return, and then Shador just came out just shaking, dude, looking absolutely not ready for the moment at all.
Yep.
That's when I got worried.
Well, and so I saw that, but my point is the very next time the defense went out after Shador went 3 and out right away, I'm like, that is not good. After they did to us that first drive, it's going to be 14-0. We're in trouble. Guess what the defense did on the next drive?
Tell me.
3 and out. They held Nebraska. We got the ball back. They scored no points. They made adjustments to that first drive. So to tell me that you're basing this off of, hey, watch the linebackers in the first score, yes, it wasn't good. They fixed themselves the rest of the game. And you can't tell me that Nebraska started running vanilla after the first drive, because they didn't. We looked a lot better. The first drive was a majority of their rushing yards because they ran the ball almost every single play that drive.
We are so beating Texas Tech.
Was that one of your losses, though?
Yes. I'm feeling a little bit more nervous about Okie State, which I had us beating Okie State. But
really?
Yeah.
Even with all the stats and what they've done so far?
Dude, it's just the fashion. Like, again, unless we start playing pro, dude, some pro style, man. Like, I just...
Because all Oklahoma State is...
that we should be in, man. Let's say
all Oklahoma State is Ollie Gordon.
Gordon exactly.
is...
Exactly. Did you see what the Nebraska running backs did to us?
Yeah, but if we key in on him and we really focus on that and have Bowman try and pass the ball, which I'm telling you, he had open receivers that he was throwing the ball into the dirt to, that's where I see we can come up with something smart. I mean, look at all the teams that we're supposed to play. They're all on the bottom there on all these stats. You got Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Kansas State. Like, we've got a more favorable schedule than I think a lot of people
I guess the biggest thing is how many passing yards per game are they giving up? That's the real thing that we care about. And oh, hey, look at this. Look at this right
Oklahoma
here.
State's dead last.
Man, we play
all the
three of these
teams we play.
defenses.
All the teams we play, Dave.
Russ, this is terrible news. We're not going to change a thing.
No, we're not. We're going to come out passing. This week's the only time you might see it different.
Man, this is too
Buddy
funny.
asked, is CSU better than North Dakota State? I would say
yes,
no.
but I don't know.
I would say no. Because a lot of people talked about that. They said North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State. If they were in the Mountain West, where would they finish? And a lot of people said they'd finish in the top half. They'd be up there with Boise State and Air Force.
Oh, okay.
So I think CSU's down at the bottom. You can just see it again. I don't know if you missed this earlier, buddy, but they played UNC this past weekend. They only won 38-17. And UNC is at the bottom of the conference that South Dakota State, North Dakota State, those teams are in. They're kind of the doormat of that league, so to speak. And so to barely beat the doormat while we, barely beat the top team, it definitely tells you a little bit about where they would sit if they were in the same FCS conference as those teams.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, Russ, dude, you've given me some hope. This is what I needed.
We're trying.
You've accomplished what you've needed to do, what you set out to do in this show. I'm off the ledge for now. As long as we get that victory, I'm gonna be very happy on Saturday night. Now, how we get that victory is gonna determine how I feel the rest of the week. We got to put little brother to bed, man. Like, this game always, and I got to say this. I'm so sick of hearing the argument about, well, it just means so much more to these teams coming out and playing Colorado than any other average opponent. Dude, who cares about that? You're telling me that these guys aren't trying their hearts out against these other opponents where money is on the line and, their careers are on the line? Like, don't hit me with that, man. Like, if we're going to bark and if we're going to go about the way building this program and promoting ourselves that we are, we got to punch, we got to bite. Like, we got to back it up. And it starts this week. Let's do it.
Yeah. My last comments on this for this week. You look at the Oregon demolishing last year of us, made sense. Oregon's a lot further along than we are. I didn't give too much of a bat in my eye at that loss. Washington State, little bit worse, but I also think it was a matchup nightmare for us last year, just because of how run heavy they were and what they were able to do. And we now know that Cam Ward is a really good quarterback. We know that he is a good quarterback. This year, the Nebraska game, that's where it starting to get inexcusable. That wasn't even close, that we didn't even give him a match.
You had you had the whole off season.
Yep. That was the game they were preparing for. Yeah. So this is the next step. Like, this is a game that we shouldn't see what we did last week at all. It shouldn't be close. It shouldn't happen like that. They should be taking this game so seriously. This should be a, game to really get that redemption, game to really show that they care and that they are back in this and that we're not losing the team. They're not losing the players. We're not losing the coaches. All of that is coming up. So that is what I see this week. It's a very important game. I'll feel much better if we get that win. Everybody should be happening this week. I have a good feeling it should be a good game. If it is not, we're in a different.
If it's not free Kareem Hard, baby, I want to see him out there. If we're just gonna pick a new offensive line every week, Kareem Harden, like that's what I want to see him out there.
No, forget that. Just go. Let's go Flapjack. Let's go Wyatt Hummel in there. Let's clean house, okay? Seaton can stay, but we are going clean house with all the youngsters and just saying we're going to get them ready for next year. That's what we're doing.
Peyton Kirkland, baby. Yeah, let's do that. So Russ, again, thank you so much for joining me and for all the great information, all the stats, all the little stuff that you came prepared with. Love that stuff. Let the people know what you got coming up on your channel.
Yeah, as always, make sure you guys are subscribed to Buffs News Weekly on YouTube or follow me over on Twitter. And as always, we will have the weekly news show on Sunday where we'll summarize a little bit of the game, but we'll also talk about the other stuff that's been in the news. Make sure that you know everything that's going on around CU. There's some good stuff coming this week, some stuff that aren't really being talked about. And if you're not a social media, savant that you just stick on it, there might be some stories that surprise you as far as some good news and things like that. Not football related, but just like maybe things aren't as bad as we think with the program. And so, look out for that on Sunday. And of course, let's get a win against the Sheep this Saturday.
Yes, guys, I'll be live after this game, so be sure to hit that subscribe and ride this emotional wave with me. Let's do it. Let's have fun. Let's beat the Sheep and send Jiffy Lube J back to Jiffy Lube, baby. All right. Sko Buffs.
Sko Buffs.